Hi there, Megan Thompson here with Megan Thompson Coaching, and we are going to discuss the number one way attachment parenting for your sensitive child, can harm your marriage or your partnership with your loved one. So I want to ensure that we're talking about the same thing. Sensitive kids, they experience the world on a deep level. They are very deep thinkers. They process a lot of information. They can be easily overstimulated by that information, to include sensory information, emotional information, relational information, like information coming from other people, aka communication. Factual information like the rules of the day, as well as their own emotional experiences and their interpretation. So how they're thinking about a problem, they're jumping to conclusions. When all of those experiences hit them at once, if they don't have emotion regulation skills, they will act impulsively, reactively, explosively, and really struggle to demonstrate their skill sets. And at the baseline, it means that the child is not demonstrating resiliency. So when we see parents get stuck in a meltdown cycle, meltdowns happening on a daily basis, multiple times a day basis, where the child is hitting, kicking, screaming, yelling, throwing things, running away to the room, slamming doors, things like that, or even running away in parking lots, and where this behavior is more appropriate for a toddler, and we see this behavior more regularly for children over the age of 4, 5, 6, 9, 12. It is important that when you're parenting a child who experiences the world differently, you're not decreasing your standard of expectation in a way that actually doesn't hold them accountable for developmentally appropriate behavior. It reduces your expectations to the point where you reduce what their potential is. And so I want to talk about this because when you're parenting from an attachment lens or a gentle parenting lens, noticing the child's emotional needs and wanting your child to feel heard and understood, and also that you are attentive to them. As a baby, this methodology can lead to parents wanting to hold the baby all the time, wear the baby, right? As an example, right? Could be one of the features that's touted on mommy blogging around the world related to attachment-focused parenting. But the ultimate objective is that the child feels nurtured, heard, and understood as a baby, and could include co-sleeping in your parenting plan for your child at infancy or toddlerhood. And we see parents who are applying this approach for children in toddlerhood, where bedtimes are involving co-sleeping for toddlers. Parents are sleeping in the same room as the kiddo, or mom is sleeping in the same room as the child in order to help the child calm down and stay asleep. And where this can impact the marital relationship or co-parenting relationship if you're partnered and living together is in the vast majority of your time is spent with your child, right? Now, it's important to understand that attachment-focused parenting, to help create a secure attachment in the child's ability to relate to themselves and then relate to the world, is necessary. Sensitive children need to have a secure relationship to themselves, and the best way they learn how to do that is through their relationship with their parents. And it's also true that when we've coached hundreds of families, we've worked with lots of parents who get stuck using attachment-focused parenting, or that theory, attachment theory, taking Bowlby's theory and trying to apply it to younger children or children who are beyond that toddler age, and getting stuck in the meltdown cycle. So I want to talk about this because it's particularly related to your marital relationship, to your partnership. Okay, so just for the sake of ease of time, because I do want this message to be short today, I'm going to use the word marriage. If you're not married and partnered, great. Go right ahead you can follow along, please. So what I want to do is highlight the focus for you in this dynamic. And if you are applying attachment-focused parenting and you've gotten stuck in the dynamic of the meltdown cycle, where I find that most parents need help in breaking out of this pattern is in identifying the child's emotional needs and setting appropriate boundaries. So part of that requires you to understand what's developmentally appropriate. We just went through some of this, right? So we want to see children demonstrating negative emotion, crying, yelling. For 4-year-olds, still developmentally appropriate. We would not want to see that behavior last beyond 5, max 10 minutes, but definitely not daily at 10 minutes. That's just too much distress for a 4-year-old. Too much distress for a 2-year-old, but I want to give it that extreme end of the range, because it might happen once a week at that level, right? Now, if it's happening more than that on a weekly or multiple times a day basis, I just spoke with a family earlier this week whose child is newly 5 years old and having meltdowns multiple times a day for an hour long, or is just touchy and irritable for an hour and a half, right? Even if the screaming amount of time was and crying amount of time was about 10 minutes, you need to look at the entire dynamic. And one thing that parents can get tripped up on in using the attachment focused philosophy is that your child needs to feel as if you are there for them for the entire time that they are experiencing negative emotion, and you're interpreting that to mean that you need to be physically there, you need to be verbally engaging with them and helping them calm down and slow down for however long they might need you. And one thing that we coach our clients to break out of is in this martyrdom dynamic that can happen when a parent wants to build emotional intelligence and emotional regulation skills and to foster that connection, and falls into the extreme with the child. So what happens is typically we have the other parent who is watching this behavior, who feels like something's off and can tend to overcompensate and fall more into the other extreme, moving more into suck it up mentality, wanting the spouse or co-parent to take a break and to let the child cry it out. Might not even be using that language, but that's the flavor, that's the vibe of the conversation. And so it creates an argument. It creates distress for, most of the time this is mom in this dynamic, and most of the time dad is the one who's saying, wait a minute, this is going to reinforce ineffective relational skills, so we need to be addressing it. My approach is to swing to the other end and let's try the opposite, right? Which obviously doesn't work. We teach our clients to break out of this pattern by staying out of extremes on both ends. No passivity, no pressuring, really helping a child feel prepared for life and ensure that they can tolerate hard things and that the parent is witnessing that. But that doesn't mean that the parent is there the entire time. One of the things that I see most parents get stuck on is in preserving the parent-child relationship to the detriment of the marriage. And when we look at the challenge there, likely it is because you are trying to convince your spouse that your method of parenting is what's best for your kid. And it's not necessarily an intentional process, but what happens is that the one parent ends up becoming what we can see clinically is more codependent behavior. You might not be clinically diagnosed with codependent behavior or enmeshed behavior, and I don't diagnose my clients because I act as a coach and consultant, and yet you can look up the definition of enmeshment or codependency and start to notice some themes in the dynamic in your household. And if that's something that you're noticing before it gets to the point where it's clinically diagnosable, I highly recommend that you address the problem in the family and you take ownership of your desire to save your kid from their negative emotion, as well as just purely understand that you very well might have been misguided on the fact that a lot of parent consultants or parenting experts who are focusing on non-sensitive kids but just trying to apply their general knowledge of the temperament of sensitive children, calling them deep feeling, calling them reactive, calling them explosive, spirited, strong-willed, neurodivergent without really understanding what that means. All of that mischaracterization of an intense emotion for a sensitive kid, which is a symptom of a meltdown cycle, can really put you in a position where you start to think that this is just part of your kid's personality. So if you want to learn more about what it takes to stop the meltdown cycle, recreate that level of appropriate balance in the parenting relationship with both parents in a two-parent home are equally feeling like their needs are being met in the co-parenting relationship, as well as the child's needs not being put above the parents, so that neither parent is overperforming or underperforming in their parenting role, or trying to save one parent from the negative emotion. I encourage you to go to meganthompsoncoaching.com/3mistakes, because when we see that opinions are getting clouded and one parent is trying to just hold the child's emotions with a container, and you feel so spent, fried, and overwhelmed because that container is just overflowing all the time, and you don't feel like you can give your kid as much love as they are telling you right this minute that they want, you can interpret that as feeling as if that's the amount of love that they need to feel secure. Because you value a secure attachment, you will feel trapped. So I don't want you to feel trapped. Nobody was put on this earth to be miserable. It is absolutely an opportunity for you to address your strategy. You can break out of this pattern. We've helped hundreds of families do the same thing. That means that we've helped, because we've helped over 800 families at this point, means we've helped thousands of individual parents solve this problem. And because I've worked with people in my clinical career in addition, right? So the hopefully math's for you. And I really want you to notice that you can solve this problem swiftly. So go ahead over to meganthompsoncoaching.com/3mistakes, and we'll go ahead and fix that for you. So I don't know where my little thing went. All right, there it is. You can see the link on the show if you're watching this live, or you're catching this on the replay. You can see here what URL I want you to type in, okay? And then obviously at the bottom of this post, if you have been watching this on Facebook or YouTube, you can grab the link to watch our latest training to help your family solve this problem quickly and understand our approach on a deeper level, because I know that this show is designed to be brief. Again, if you're watching this, if you're listening to us on our podcast, on wherever you find us, go ahead and check the show notes. We will have this link available to you, and you can dive in and hear it from your perspective, which is valid, as is your spouse or co-parents, and their needs are also valid. So your opinion on what might solve the problem could very well be misguided or inappropriate or ineffective, and that's the part that we're going to address, because everybody has needs in a family, and everybody deserves to live in a family where you don't feel fried, exhausted, or drained or stuck. Okay, so go ahead over to meganthompsoncoaching.com/3mistakes. I encourage you to watch that and dive in and enjoy and be ready to solve the problem. Talk soon.